Thank you, Jill. Hi, everybody. Cheryl asked me to present a while ago, and she said the theme was brain-based learning, and I'm like, well, how do I fit into that? And I fit into the 21st century skills side that we've been talking about a little bit today. And I want to show you a little bit about, kind of set the table for you in terms of what's going on with 21st century teaching and learning, and then kind of jump into the global aspect, which is something that I'm really passionate about. So without further ado, we'll get going, and hopefully this will work. Hopefully this will work. There we go. So first of all, I want to say happy Digital Learning Day to you. If you don't know it, today is a national day celebrating what kids are doing with digital media. And so it's perfect that I'm addressing you guys today because this event is going on all across the country. This afternoon, Arnie Duncan and other officials are going to be talking about all things digital in schools, and it's pretty exciting to have a day that's devoted to this, and I think it's really important. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so it's not changing on the monitor. Yeah, okay, let's try this again. Digital Learning Day. Okay, so one of the things with teachers right now is I think we're all kind of scared about change. We hear the word change. You must change. We have to change. We have to change our teaching. And I think the word that we should be talking about is evolve. Why evolve? Why should we be looking for continuous improvement and trying to change things up for our kids? So evolve is probably the better word to be using with things. We know that we're kind of in this moment at risk, this nation at risk moment. And we're thinking about how do we improve teaching and learning, how do we do the assessment piece for 21st century skills, and what's truly innovative. That's one of the things that's really been on my mind as we look for technology to be the silver bullet. 21st century skills, if you're not familiar with the partnership, this is a model that talks about core content is still really important, but we have to infuse 21st century skills and literacies into that core content. So this is a model that many school districts, the whole state of West Virginia and other states have bought into this model. But you can take a look here and you can see that there are themes that need to be woven in. One is global awareness that we're going to go into, but you can look at these a little bit more in depth. My slides are online as well. So 21st century skills has been a big theme. The other thing that may be of interest to you in this new context is the idea of the highly connected teacher. The National Educational Technology Plan calls for teachers to be connected to data, to resources, and to each other in order to improve teaching and learning. So this is something that I think is really important. I also think the idea of the highly connected school leader or administrator is also really important in this new context. Also, new and emerging technologies are making things possible for us to connect our kids in new and interesting ways. And one of the pieces of research that may be useful to you in this quest to learn more is the K12 Horizon report. I'm on the advisory board for this, and it's a report that comes out every year that talks about the new and emerging technologies you should be adopting in 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and 4 years on out. I think those are the horizons. And last week, I had the opportunity to go to a summit for the people who were who have been involved with this report. There's a higher ed version, there's a museum version, there's an Australian version. 100 of us gathered in Austin, Texas to talk about the future of teaching and learning, and it was really remarkable to bring all these different audiences together. During the course of our work last week, we came up with 10 megatrends, these megatrends are going to be the basis for a new report for the anniversary of the Horizon report. So these are some things that you may be you need to be aware of. Obviously, the world of work is increasingly global, increasingly collaborative. People expect to work wherever they are. The internet is becoming a global mobile network, and it already is at its edges, so mobility is really important. The technologies we use are increasingly cloud-based and delivered over utility networks, so cloud computing is really important. Openness, open data, open resources, that sort of thing is another theme. And then legalities, the legal notion of who owns what is kind of blurred by cloud computing. And then the real challenges of access and that sort of thing to education is also quite important in terms of scaling solutions that will not just reach American kids, but kids around the world as we seek to educate more and more kids. And the internet is constantly challenging us to think about how we're teaching, how we're learning ourselves, and also about how we're defining literacy. New media literacies are a concept by Henry Jenkins that talk about how kids need to be able to cope with the internet and how they digest information and that so on and so forth. So we also are thinking about business models. Business models are under a great deal of change right now. Look at the publishing industry. Look at, with Apple's announcement last week, look at colleges. They're trying to stay competitive and keep costs down. So business models are also going to be changing in this new context. So I thought this might be kind of helpful to you in understanding where the world of 21st century teaching and learning is going. These are some of the buzzwords that are going on in my world right now. Personalized learning, mobile technologies, all these things, many of them that we've talked about today. And if you click on these links in my slides, you'll be taken to resources that will explain these a little bit further. But I really want to focus today on global connections and what that means. So this is a presentation that I did for TEDx New York Education last year, and Cheryl saw it and wanted me to bring it to you guys. And what I'm trying to do is tell you the story of how I've gotten connected and how it's changed my teaching and learning for others. So last year, in 2010, a guy named Steve Hargadon, who runs a website called Classroom 2.0, he and I started a conference called the Global Education Conference. We joined forces, and we had 400 sessions, 60 keynotes. It was an amazing event, and over 5 days during International Education Week. And during this conference, people could come in virtually via Illuminate, which is now called Blackboard Collaborate, and participate in these sessions. So we did it last year, and we did it in 2011, and hopefully we'll do it again in 2012. Some of my favorite sessions were, this one, for instance, was by Brian Mannix, who's a teacher on Long Island. And what he did is he had his students, this is just not meshing for me here. And Brian what he did was he read, his students read Pay It Forward, the book, and they saw the movie, and then they tried to apply that concept to their schoolwork. And it was a community service-based program that he ran. So they had partnerships with Kiva and partnerships with Heifer International, and the kids did all sorts of community service projects using that. Then, for his presentation, he brought the author of the book in to talk, and he also brought in people from Kiva and from Heifer International. So this is one of my, and his students. So it was really a powerful presentation about how you can incorporate real life learning using, and technology supports it, but into developing global awareness with kids. Another presentation was from Polar Bears International. Polar Bears International is a research institute that has, that sponsors scientists up in the tundra. And this picture that you see here is actually the head scientist with a guy from Discovery named Lance Ruggie up in a tundra buggy in Churchill, Manitoba. They use the video capabilities of Illuminate to talk to our audience and show what they were doing. And it was really cool. And they actually took their webcam and put it out on the tundra so you could see the polar bears live. It was pretty cool. So this one was another one that I really liked too. Catlin Gabel is a private school in Portland, and they talked about how they've internationalized their school. Everything that's gone into their travel programs, to their curriculum, to special events that they do at their school. And I thought it was an excellent presentation as well. This year, we changed it a little bit. We had 20 keynotes and some featured speakers. And we really tried to kind of narrow down what we meant by global education. And we didn't mean everything education-oriented. We wanted things that were going to help kids and teachers develop global competency. And so Pam Allen is the head of a group called Lit World that does book clubs around the world with kids, and they do training through Skype and that sort of thing, and she really believes in the power of technology. So she did a keynote. She had just gone back from Rwanda, I think, the night before. Louder Than a Bomb is a documentary. We had like a mini documentary film fest in the middle of this, virtually. One of the directors of Louder Than a Bomb, which is about kids poetry slamming in Chicago, one of the directors went to college with me, so I convinced them to open up the film for a week on Vimeo for our participants, so people could watch at their leisure, watch the movie, and then come to a session with Greg and ask him all about poetry slamming and the making of the movie and the kids and that sort of thing. It was really powerful. We also had another movie that was shown called Schooling the World by Carol Black, and Carol happens to be, she happened to be one of the co-writers of the Wonder Years, if you remember that show. That's from my day. Another presentation that I really enjoyed too was from the Shoah Foundation at UCLA, which archives Holocaust survivor stories. Steven Spielberg, I believe, started this organization. So there's 300 or 400 of these kinds of sessions, all archived on our website that you can access at any time for professional development or just to further your own knowledge, or whatever you want to do with it. So this is what it looked like the first year. That's my friend Steve. That's my partner in crime. And we did, this is our closing session here, and Steve was in California, I was in Chicago. I'm not sure who is in the middle, but the guy on the right is in Australia. And at the closing session, we got together and we kind of took everything into account that had happened during the week and talked about our favorite stories and anecdotes from the event. And people often say that technology is going to dehumanize us. And I found during this particular week that it actually brought people together. People really bonded in these chat rooms that surrounded Illuminate. And there was almost this jubilant view, and I think I might have another picture of it. There's actually a very jubilant feeling in the chat room when we had our closing session and celebrated all that we had accomplished during that week. We literally did this with Illuminate, Google Docs, Google Calendars, a couple of wikis. We did lots and lots and lots of volunteers who helped moderate sessions. It was the most amazing feat I've ever accomplished. We used a tool called You Can Book Me that works with Google Calendar, and people self-scheduled their own sessions. So really, it was kind of the brainchild of 2 people, enacted by probably 25 to 30 people, and we impacted hopefully thousands. This is my chair in my living room, and my 8-year-old at the time came home and said, I told him, the conference is over, and he's like, great, now you can leave that chair. And so, because I literally was stuck, because the sessions were going around the clock, and we wanted to accommodate time zones, we were there, and we wanted to make sure everything was, we're kind of neurotic about making sure everything worked. So this is some of the kind of the feedback that we got from people in 2010, and what's important here is that this is probably a new way of doing professional development. We wanted to make this accessible. We wanted to make this free. We wanted to make this a living resource that would carry on. And so hopefully we'll continue to do this because we felt it to be such a valuable activity. Some stories from this year, we had more participation from South America and Africa. We're still kind of North American centric and want to expand our reach. And there was a professor in the Ivory Coast who was tweeting me and saying, we're watching you in the Ivory Coast. My students don't know anything about Web 2.0, and we're happy to participate. So I'm really excited about the potential of this. Bandwidth is still an issue in parts of the world, but I'm hoping that we can expand it. So some lessons that have been learned along the way. Why did I do this? Why did I get involved with this? And I always forget these things, and I'm feeling a little under the weather to boot. So I want to make sure that I cover these correctly. So what are we waiting for? This is one of the impetuses for my work. My kids are really the ultimate litmus test. I want them to be experiencing these kinds of things in school. And if they're not, I'm sorely disappointed. So it's kind of selfish, but what are we waiting for? I mean, my kids, your grandchildren, whoever, are going through school, and we don't have any time to wait, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing I've learned about all of this is it's really important to practice professional generosity. Be kind, be gracious, give back to others, and it's going to come back to you. And an example of this, hopefully, is my friend Larry Anderson, who is a retired principal and professor from Mississippi State. And he was not that, I don't know, he was kind of, he heard me talk about this. He's a fellow Apple Distinguished Educator. He heard me talk about this, but he wasn't that intrigued, but he thought he'd stop by one day and see what the conference was all about. He loved it so much that he did the training to become a moderator and spent like the rest of the week online. Literally, I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and check things, and there would be Larry. And so it's, he gives back to other people. He's there, he's cheerleading, he's being supportive, and that's the kind of thing that we need to be for each other right now in this day and age. The other thing I've learned from this is that we need to push our boundaries, our physical, our social, our emotional boundaries with all of this. This is a picture of me in Singapore when I went to work with some teachers, and that's barbecued stingray. And I am not the most adventurous eater ever. I'm not. And, but you know what? I know I would miss out if I didn't try that. I mean, going all the way halfway across the world and not try something like that? That's crazy, right? Our kids are going to miss out if we don't try this stuff. If we don't dabble and try to jump in and do global collaborative projects and bring the world to our kids they're going to miss out. That's the bottom line. So we need to push our boundaries. And I think seeing the world helps you understand things. And in this day and age, there's no reason you can't see the world, at least through technology. If we can't go and physically see some places, we can bring it through technology. So as a result of these kinds of things that I've learned over the past few years, I started this NING, which is an online community called the Global Education Collaborative. The conference is now housed in it. So all of the sessions are archived in there. It's globaleducation.ning.com. And you can go there and you can ask questions, you can find projects, you can connect with people around the world. For instance, I just had a documentary company in France contact me looking for teachers in Tunisia. You can look people up there and contact them directly through our space. The idea is to bring everybody together under one umbrella. And then, last year when I was preparing for this TEDx New York talk, that went a little fast, this guy said to me over Twitter, I'm a big Twitter fan, why now? Why is this so important? And I said, this is my answer, is because we've got urgent problems that are going on right now. We have to address them. We have to teach our kids to work in a networked situation so that they can hit the ground running when it's their turn to solve these problems. We can't wait for them not to be able to do these things as soon as they graduate from college or go on to their next job or whatever it is. So we have to prepare our kids because we were facing urgent problems and we need to take care of that. So if you need further evidence, this is a tweet that came to me from a Google certified teacher named Atif who teaches at an international school in Egypt. And he and I were in Bahrain, that's us down the corner, at a conference right before this conference. And during Arab Spring, he was tweeting saying, please get the word out about what's going on here. And the thing is that here in the United States, we listen to all this stuff all the time. We were aware of what was going on there, but it doesn't move it to us to action and to speak our voice, to have our voices heard, and to actually do something. I think that's the thing that we need to think about. And if we don't think that there's a need for global awareness, look at this. This is the Google guy who was instrumental in some of the events in Egypt during Arab Spring. We need to teach our kids. He was tweeting about what was happening and that sort of thing. We need to teach our kids to process this information that's coming over social media. They need to understand that they're not just a little speck on the planet, that they have an impact, they have a voice now because of the technologies that are readily available to us. So this is a picture from an Arboretum area outside the German Jewish Museum in Berlin, where I was in 2005. I traveled with a bunch of Apple Distinguished Educators to write a global awareness curriculum. And I was stunned by the fact that, it was 2006, that we really weren't connected. We had iChat and we had all these technologies. I'm not sure if Skype was in existence then. But we weren't leveraging them to connect classrooms. We're using maybe technology in our classrooms, but to connect them, that wasn't happening. And why not now? What are we waiting for? And so this is kind of a symbol to me of being connected and everything being interrelated, and so that's where I came from. So this is where you can find more information about the conference. The slides are available. I put them on our Facebook page, and you can dig into any of the resources I've listed. Everything that's underlined is hyperlinked. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but at the regular TED conference, they give a prize. They give a prize to the person or group that's most worthy. All the proceeds from the conference, I guess, go to that person. Bill Clinton's gotten it before. Bono's gotten it before. Somebody I went to high school with got it, actually, and I'm blanking on his name. He wrote Where the Wild Things Are. He wrote the movie. No, but it's the guy. The movie. He did the movie. Anyway, I'll think of who it is. It's not Morris Sendak. It's the person who did the screenplay for it. I'm blanking on it. So people get this award to make a dream happen, right? So I'm going to pretend here that I'm getting the TED prize. We could do the TEDxEnola prize here. And my wish is for you guys to join in on this journey that we're having with the Global Education Conference, for you to come and participate next fall. And if you're doing something fabulous in your school or in your classroom or wherever that's connecting classrooms, we'd love to have you present as well. So look for the call for the call for proposals in the next couple of months. We'll have more details out about it. It's a very open, inclusive event, and we hope that you'll participate. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you at lunch.